Hey guys, do you realize that we are 2 months away from the release of the upcoming consoles and we still don't have a price point or an actual confirmed release date? Does that just seem crazy to anybody else or is it just me? Anyway guys, my name's Stendo. This is your weekly news roundup. Okay guys, before we get started, just remember that I do stream 5 days a week on Twitch, twitch.tv/Stando, and I do also have an awesome Discord community. Of course, links down below in the description box for all that good stuff. Now, let's jump into the news. I've got some good news and I've got some bad news about the upcoming PlayStation 5. First, let's do the bad news and just get it out of the way. That bad news is something that I've already mentioned, I've already reported, I've already gave my comments on, and I guess it just hit mainstream media this past week and they're just talking about it for the first time. Like, ooh, we're just now learning about this, even though they've mentioned it before. It's been mentioned before. I don't know why it is in mainstream media now. It's like we're reporting on stuff that we've already reported on. The PS5 is not going to be backwards compatible with PS3, PS2, and PS1 games. We knew that already. Matter of fact, I think I mentioned it on a channel I used to have of how impossible it would be to emulate PlayStation 3 hardware on a high-end computer, let alone a console. And I didn't think that it was going to be possible. Maybe PS2 and PS1 would certainly be more possible like they did in the PS3. But certainly not PS3 emulating, because the architectures are so vastly different. Each time they release an iteration of consoles, the architecture has been different until we got to the PS4. But look guys, I don't think this is going to be a big deal. I don't think it's going to be a big deal at all. The Switch wasn't backwards compatible, the PS4 wasn't backwards compatible, and they still are outselling the console that is backwards compatible, Xbox. That's their strategy. And Xbox's strategy might collapse on itself because they don't really have an exclusive killer app when the Xbox Series X launches like the PS5 is going to. I think when it comes to consoles, the perfect combination is a good balance between third-party games and first-party games. If you don't have that draw, then your console's simply not going to sell. But now that we're done talking about the bad news, let's talk about the good news. And the good news is that the devs are gleeing and they're all in awe and in love with the PlayStation 5's SSD, and they're praising it once again of how awesome it is. And I was watching a video by Spawnwave, and he pointed out something to me that was right in my face, and I didn't know about it, and you guys probably didn't notice it either. And that is, Xbox has not shown us actual gameplay of any of their games running on an Xbox Series X. Now, if you're a long timer like me, think about all the E3s that you've seen over the past years, right? That's one of the things that they always drive home. Xbox World Premiere, Xbox exclusive, Xbox running in Xbox engine on the Xbox One, you know, where they show that it's running an engine on their console. They haven't showed us any of that. What they've actually been showing is PC, like, simulated. It's running on PC and it's trying to simulate an Xbox Series X. Whereas Sony has been showing us gameplay. They have shown us Ratchet and Clank, A Rift in Time, or A Rift in Dimension, or whatever, A Rift Apart. Sony has been showing us those games running on the PS5. In fact, the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo was shown to be running on a PlayStation 5. Like, they made that very clear that this is running on a PlayStation 5. And that's got me thinking that maybe, just maybe, a little tinfoil hatting here, right, is that the PlayStation 5 might look like the weaker console on paper, But in reality, I think it's going to be way stronger in the Xbox One Series X thanks to that awesome SSD. Why do I think that? Well, let's think back to what Mark Cerny said, right? He was talking about how the SSD drive in the PlayStation 5 would be able to store rendered images that would take a huge load off of the CPU and GPU when it came to rendering certain things, that they can actually load it faster on the SSD than the GPU could load it. So you're loading what the player is going to be seeing before the GPU or the CPU or even the RAM could put it up there. That's how fast this SSD is. That's insane. And that's a real game changer, guys. Because not only that, but you couple that with the other tech that they've got going in there, like the AMD smart switch tech that balances power between the CPU and GPU. So if the CPU is getting a little too overloaded, it can offload some power into the GPU. And you're not having to max out your clock speeds, which means your console runs cooler. It's more durable. It'll last longer. And the liquid cool system in there is phenomenal. It's leaps and bounds ahead of what's on the market right now. This could all combine for a much smoother, consistent experience on the console. The only thing that we've really seen running on Xbox Series X so far is Xbox Game Pass, Xbox One games, backwards compatible games. Perhaps, hopefully, we see something running on the Xbox Series X soon. I do understand the PlayStation 5 dev kits have been out there way longer than the Xbox dev kits are, but Xbox should still be able to show us something running on the system, especially if they're wanting to release this console like 2 months out from now. The latest iteration of Madden is out, and apparently it sucks. Which, for real, who saw that one coming? Guys, let's face it. Let's be real for each other, right? Let's be honest with each other. Even if you are a Madden fan, they release the same game year after year. They do little to no big innovations, and apparently somehow this game's just buggier than the game that they released last year and more broken. But it's still funny. They got Madden 20 on the field and Madden 19 up in the stands. Like if you squint way off. Fans are really upset, guys. Blatantly. Somehow this game's just bad. Look, I could say this a million times, alright? Madden does not need to be an annual release. I know you think it does because of the rosters, but it really doesn't. It's just a roster change. That's what you're paying $60 and resetting all the microtransactions and stuff that you spent. Reset year in, year out, and you start over from scratch. Madden does not need to be one of those annual titles. They could release Madden every 3 to 5 years, right? And instead of like just being a roster update, if you want the roster update, they could either sell it to you or release it as a free download or expansion to their game, and really focus on making a good game that innovates the franchise forward. But they're not interested in that. They're interested in having all the money, not some of the money, all the money. Think about it. If EA actually released 3 to 5 years and just released rosters and sold them to you, they wouldn't have to. It would sell like it would sell like crazy, because people like me that love Madden, that have sworn off Madden because of how egregious it's been over the past decade, would jump back in with open arms and be like, oh look, it's Madden, I can play with my friends online for longer than 18 months. I'm telling you, it would do well, and they could get rid of the card packs because it's doing so well. You guys always say that games are so expensive to make and stuff, and that's why they got to put these card packs and stuff in there. I'm not convinced that if they make a good game, they'll make enough money to make up for their expenses. They could even raise the prices to $70 to $80 to $90, and we'd be willing to pay it. It's not our fault that, they've not inflated prices with the times. It's not the consumer's fault. That's their fault because they make more money off of it this way. But what do I know? I'm just a guy from the hills of Tennessee, right? A good old neckbeard. So Nintendo dropped a bomb on us today. That's right. They're going to release a Super Mario 3D AllStars, available for a limited time, only 6 months. It doesn't include Mario Odyssey 2, which is kind of a bummer, but that's some really good value for the price you're paying. But 6 months, really, Nintendo? Really? Only 6 months is how long it's going to be on sale. If you miss that window, you just miss out. I know what you're doing, Nintendo. I got my eyes on you, man. We all know what you're doing. 6 months. Perfect time to roll out a new console and then sell us this again as a port to the new console, right? Probably for $70 instead of 60. I see what you're doing. We're on to you. Anyway, guys, these are the topics that I thought were most important this week. There was some other little stuff that happened out throughout the week. This was the big stuff, right? This is the important stuff. And that's really all I've got for you. This is the stuff that I found most interesting. But anyway, don't forget to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/stando. Also on Discord, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. You know where it's at, down in the description box. Follow me around on social media. Can't remember all that? You can go to stando.live. All that stuff's already linked out, mapped out there for you. And what's really cool about stando.live is if you want to support the show, you can. You can just leave a tip or check out our merch store. It's a great place to hang out. Love your faces, guys. Catch you next time. Have a good one.